There's just 1 minute to showtime.
The engines are on.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
When they wrote up the systems and the rule set that we use, did working people get to write a line? What class of men on pen and paper jotted down their clues? With capital the heart of their design. When 90 million want a thing, but some shareholders say no. Which class of people get to have their way? The people read the fine print and say that this thing has got to go. And we'll start writing a new contract here today. Don't you know that hundreds will work and one man keeps the money? They don't think they gotta tell us why. When they say the new social contract, all the bosses will be gobsmacked and everyone will want a sign. Oh, yeah, everyone will want a sign. Go ho, baby! I'm putting myself in here. Usually, like Nicolette mans the stuff. Oh, we're back. Is it happening? It's not
Maybe.
internet today. If you all can hear me, it's yeah. It seems to be more of a local hardware issue for once, which is refreshing. That is different. It's not like Comcast or Cox or Time Warner or whoever you have for once. How's it going, Nicolette? Your face is frozen and now you're gone, so that's probably not a great sign. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Social Contract. My name is Jared. I am joined, hopefully, by Nicolette. We're seeing whether or not her technical difficulties will defeat her today. I am here, however, to talk about not a whole bunch of nonsense. It's kind of a weird week. I don't want to be like sad. That's the thing. It's a week where how sad you consider it is now like a political thing that we have to fight about. Conveniently, right at a time when people were kind of coalescing around certain issues, such as a certain list from a certain Epstein. I saw I was seeing weird drawings of there's like, what is this birthday book? I don't want to know anything about these things, but the general internet, it starts seeping in. I'm like, okay, there was some kind of birthday book that people did like sketches in, I guess. There were drawings and notes and stuff, and because I just saw some of these just no context drawings with like a weird caption, and I'm like, wait, oh, okay, I guess this is more Epstein situation things. But yes, conveniently, right when we're doing this, I talk every week about how even amongst what you call, quote, the right, like especially actually in this moment amongst the right, there are a gigantic chunk of people who are sitting around going, hey man, we voted for this Trump guy so he would stop wars, decrease prices, and do kitchen table issue shit, and most importantly, just getting us out of all this nonsense. Like not even necessarily getting out, you just stop sending money. That's my what's your solution to XYZ war? Just stop sending money to it and it'll probably go away on its, and even if it doesn't go away on its own, it's not really our problem. I don't live in any of these other countries. I live here in America where everything is falling apart and maybe we could use a couple of billion. And as that was crystallizing, as people were kind of coalescing into their, okay, we have the neocons over here, which are both Republicans and Democrats, and then we have the current MAG people who Trump's former base that is now correctly basically given up and be like, oh, he's just one of the swamp people also, and or they have like blackmail on him. Those people, we're getting a nice division there. Then we have the Charlie Kirk killing, and suddenly everyone's right back to their, oh, I'm sorry, hey, I'm in the left camp, I'm blue, you're not supposed to talk to me, I'm in the red camp. Like, it very conveniently, it also happened on the day where they're doing an Epstein vote. I mean, I don't think these things are really planned out in the like Mission Impossible way that people imagine. I think it's more a thing of like you kind of prepare, you till the soil, you create the conditions in which these things will happen, and then inevitably, eventually, it will happen. Kind of like the fire in Lahaina down in Hawaii. I don't think someone went and took a sparkler and started the fire necessarily on purpose, but they were like these various grasses that were allowed to grow and various fire control things, and oh no, there's conveniently no water to fight the fire. Like you set the stage, and then when it happens, it happens. So I think that's probably similar to like when Trump got shot at. I don't think he set up a fake sniper to intentionally miss a shot for publicity and all that shit. There's no way he would do that. But I can definitely imagine some kind of like accidentally on purpose. Oh no, a person is conveniently. Someone's doing some crazy shit. The thing that we, the FBI and CIA, try to rile people up constantly online to go do crazy shit. I think we have possibly another instance of that. How are we looking, Nicolette? Are we in? Your video is moving for me.
I can't tell what's going on. It says that we're live. Everything looks like we're live.
I
look like I'm live.
Chat, are we live? Say something in the chat if you hear us. Hello.
Yeah, we have no chat comments, so I can't tell for sure at this moment.
Sure, I'll do one.
It wouldn't be an episode of Social Contract if we weren't having technical problems. So I've got my live button showing, and it says that the stream is running. So I hope that we are visible.
It thinks it's working.
Yeah, I'm going to check our YouTube real quick and see if it shows that it is, because it had a link. Everything looked right. I have very limited space on my USBs, and I had to plug my camera in this time, so I don't have. Yeah, I'm seeing we're live. So
you don't have the relative tech luxuries that I have, where for the first time in the world, I started really feeling like an adult when I was like, I can just have a desk that's dedicated in my house that goes in a corner, right? That it's just my computer desk, right? And I can like mount this thing to it, and it's relatively convenient. I don't have to re-plug in a whole different setup every time I do something different, which is what I was doing in the past.
Yeah, it's usually not a problem for me, except for when it's a problem for me.
Yeah, hey, at least
right now we're plugged in here. Oh, do we got somebody going? Yes, okay.
Time Traveler's here. Nice.
Yes, thank you, Time Traveler, for letting us know you can see us. Okay, well, that's a relief. Anyways, well, sorry about all the technical difficulties. Welcome to the show. We'll maybe be here for the hour. We're gonna find out with the same time you will. We're glad to be here with you in this another week of tremendous bullshit, as Jared was saying before I was able to connect and get here.
We definitely are going to end up talking about Charlie Kirk, but before I do anything, I wanted to quickly re-mention, remember last week we talked about Venezuela?
Yeah.
How, hey, there was a boat, and it was, I guess, according to the administration, full of drugs, and let's do a follow-up on that, because even visually, you look at it, it looks like a fishing boat that you could maybe fit 5 people in, let alone the, like, we seized 1 billion kilos of pure fentanyl, or whatever they were saying they were carrying. But we have...
Or, fish.
Yeah. Well, Venezuela, first, Maduro was like, that's AI, that's not even real video. And I'm like, I don't know, is it not? Because now they're talking about how they now have they figured out who was on the boat by way of people going, hey, my fucking husband isn't home. What happened with that? Venezuela, 11 killed by U.S. military strike on vessel were civilians, not cartel. And that's Venezuela saying that. That's why it's written with the colon after there. So... Man, I wish my Spanish is not I don't know what his hat says. Dudar es traición. I don't know any of those words except for es. I assume it's a political thing. Funny thing with this article, this is from Straight Arrow News. Unbiased, straight facts. The funny thing here is their summary is like as long as there's the whole article, and here's a summary. So we're just gonna read the summary. Venezuelan denial. Caracas says that none of the 11 killed in the U.S. strike on a boat in the Caribbean were Tren de Aragua members or drug traffickers. President Nicolás Maduro ordered nationwide deployments and warned of possible armed fight if necessary. U.S. rationale. Trump posted the strike video calling the dead narco-terrorists and told Congress it was self-defense against a designated foreign terror organization. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said was that a real word? Interdiction? Okay, I am literate. I promise. I know English. Said interdiction was possible, but a deterrent strike was chosen. If you probably already know, he was nicknamed Narco Rubio back in his old days because his house was known as drug dealers. Legal challenge. Scholars and former military lawyers argue that the strike may violate assassination prohibitions and could constitute murder under U.S. and military law. Do you think?
Yeah.
Is it murder
About
when
that.
you blow someone up on a boat? Is that?
And not your country or area or anything, just like randomly.
Senator Rand Paul, stop giving this guy wins, man. Senator Rand Paul condemned rhetoric glorifying killings without trial. That's the kind of the whole crux of it. Is like, okay, if they're drug dealers, it's already weird that we're going outside of our borders to be doing this shit. But wouldn't you like grab them and do a trial? Wouldn't you
Right.
arrest them and be like, look,
and prove your point and make you look like big fucking heroes? But no, they're just so stupid that they would do something like this. It tracks.
J.D. Vance defended the action. I mean, in the article, just kind of restates all that stuff. But according to Venezuela, they're like, yeah, you guys just blew up a random fucking boat.
Yeah.
Which is what it looks like.
And then they did it again. So
Yeah,
now it's happened a second time.
They raided, didn't blow up at least, a tuna fishing boat at some point, which is a different boat from the little, like, paddle boat thing that not quite paddle boat, but you know what I mean. It's like an off-board motor-looking boat, like the kind of thing you'd have on a lake for recreation. I don't know. But, yeah, this seems very obviously it's the like poking the bear. They're kind of hoping that Venezuela will do something back that they can be like, ah ha ha, see now war. And to remind you, last week, the issue sounds plausible to me at least. The issue that the U.S. has with your Tren de Aragua, I was going to say Tren de Agua because you know the word agua, but not Aragua. With your Tren de Araguas is not that they are doing drugs or selling drugs, moving drugs, whatever. It's that they aren't doing it through U.S. banks, like they aren't doing their money laundering through the conventional forms that gives the U.S. basically a freaking tithe. You got to pay your tithe to the king drug people of the world. They instead do it through shit like Bitcoin, and that's why we got to go get them.
Also, all the oil in the world. So
that's why we want to get into Venezuela.
Right. And Nicolas Maduro is not having it. He's gone on like every outlet being like that would allow him to speak and been like, this is horse shit. They're doing this to try to get our oil and our resources. And I don't think that's really much of a surprise to anyone paying attention. So we will continue to watch how this unfolds, but probably not good.
How come no one has asked the opinion of technically President Juan Guaido? How come no one's asking him from Florida? Hey Juan, we kind of pretended you were the president of Venezuela for a while, and then there was another election, and we all kind of stopped, and now you just live on a professor's salary of $30K a year.
Hang out in Miami, having a good time.
Yeah, I said Orlando, Miami. I don't know. I wish we had a word for assholes like that. They have guisanos, where it's like you're essentially a bourgeois trader that supports like Western nonsense. That's what you'd call Miami, is like a city full of guisanos. And I don't know, at this point, you're like generations removed and you're just listening to what your parents told you, so I don't necessarily blame people. But wasn't it Marco Rubio who was like, my father escaped Cuba where he was tortured, and he was tortured by the Batista regime and was actually rescued by the communists?
Shocking. We do actually have a bit of good news to report for once, and I have had some luck. Let's see, I'm going to push it with some screen sharing. So I'm going to screen share something real quick. Let's see, this is probably a bad idea, but I'm going to try it anyway.
Well, I'll hold very still.
Yeah, everybody hold your breath. Okay. Ta-da! Okay.
I got the screen up there.
This is an interesting story in that it's been pretty widely reported, but it's only in about the last hour or two. Quote this tweet here: breaking, a judge has dismissed 2 state terrorism charges against Luigi and Mangione in the New York case over the killing of the United Healthcare CEO last year. The court ruled that prosecutors presented insufficient evidence and found no indication in the statute that a murder committed for ideological reasons fits within the definition of terrorism without establishing a necessary intent to intimidate or coerce, although he still does face a second-degree murder charge. But I kind of get the impression that if they can't make the terrorism charges stick, 2 of them, we're going to maybe hopefully be seeing that charge get dropped as well. And a lot of us who have been paying attention to this story, which I think is probably most people at this point, have all been able to witness firsthand the tomfoolery that has taken place with even getting him to this point, and that nothing added up. There was no actual evidence. And it was all just basically a bunch of horse shit. And now that we find out that, like, legally it was a bunch of horse shit, so that is a good turn of events in terms of justice in this story, because for the most part, I don't think that they could really even prove that he was the shooter. And I think we're seeing that happening again, in slightly different terms. What's really interesting about, okay, first of all, I mean, I think the real problem is here, what we were kind of talking about in the lead up to the show, not like directly because it wasn't working, but when we were messaging, is that are people really invested in this Charlie Kirk thing, or is it just internet that is invested in it? Because I kind of get the impression that most people in life really don't give a shit. We really have this right-wing bozo who reaped what he sowed, and probably got fragged by his own government for it to manufacture consent for a race war.
I was considering getting up a bunch of clips, but you can find though where it's like, okay, recently you can find a bunch of Charlie Kirk clips where he's talking about, I was like, Israel might be full of shit.
Right.
And
and what's interesting about that is there is a really big pod movement on the right that is suggesting that this was Israeli. This was an Israeli hit. And you would think that on the right, they'd be like, obviously it was the blacks, because that was his whole thing.
First it was a trans super soldier, and then it was Arabs, according to Netanyahu. He's like Islamic extreme, and it's just a guy, and you're like,
people on that fire comes from there was a condolence tweet that came out from Trump's account and from his Truth Social or something, and from Netanyahu's Twitter at the exact same time, worded very similarly. So it's like, okay, what did you guys know? So like that kind of points out this bigger kind of picture, and the right is kind of really attaching themselves to that ideal, because he apparently was not super into the whole Israel thing, of all things. Like, he's like, yeah, like, here's a whole litany of horrible things I've said in the public to people, but Israel doesn't do it for me. So
and it's not like he wasn't going on like wearing fucking Hamas flags or whatever.
Right, yeah,
like it was just him doing the man. I noticed that I still get called anti-Semitic even when I love Israel, and he repeats it a million times. I love Israel, love Israel, love Israel. He makes sure to say that about him. Like, I think he gets paid. I think most people, I guess, if you're on the payroll, every time you say I love Israel, you get like another $1.
Yeah, like a coin, like the
but
Mario
coin. He's like, look, I do these mild criticisms because, like, he'll make the very basic point of, if the goal is to get back the hostages, why aren't we doing shit that would get back the hostages?
Right.
And they're like, oh, anti-Semitic, you're Hamas. Yeah. And like, he's like, that's all it takes. This kind of, and that's how the cracks seem to start.
Right.
And then you go from there. Like, freaking, you have Candace Owens, who is like one of the greatest soldiers against Zionism, and it's Candace Owens of all people, because she speaks to people who aren't used to hearing that stuff. And I don't think I don't know, man. Maybe it was they considered that TPUSA, which is like, because the reason Charlie Kirk was significant was he essentially ran what is the, like, young Republicans, like, if you're a collegiate Republican or conservative voter type, like, who's politically engaged, Charlie Kirk was probably the guy. Like, he held events. He's
been completely rebranded in the media as a conservative activist.
Activist is a weird thing. He's a talker.
He's racist, dog shit, asshole. Like, no, not that anymore. Okay.
Because, like, activist strikes me as weird, because if you called him, like, a commentator or something, that makes complete sense to me. But, like, activist, like, I don't know what the activism is.
Yeah, what's the activism? Racism, like, horrible shit, like,
you do a speaking tour. I don't know, is that activism?
Right, yeah. And, that's this whole thing really kind of, any way it is, this whole thing stinks, basically, is what it is. I'm more
imagine if you had every collegiate conservative person, like, suddenly not suddenly, but if Kirk kept doing down the road of, hey, maybe we shouldn't just be putting full blind trust in Israel. Maybe some of these anti-American policies are directly connected to this support for our, like, this client state over in the Middle East. That maybe would be seen as so bad propagandistically that they're like, we got to take them out. I guess it seems like a weird
like target, honestly. Like there are so many very vocal people against that also have audiences. There's so many very vocal anti Israel people out there. It seems very, very it's a very soft target in this. So it's to me, we may not find the answer to this, but to me it reeks more of trying to try to goad people into a race war.
I've actually got something on this. I've brought this guy up a couple of times. You'll start going, wow, Jared just brings up Logo's opinions all the time. This is Logo Daedalus. He has, in my opinion, I don't know, something that has like unique opinions. He just says he can write like in a way that's like, oh wow, he kind of made that point in a way that I didn't even know how to make, because we have like a similar conversation here. What everyone thinks of Israel, they're not going to assassinate Americans on American soil. If they were to take that level of risk, they'd waste it on a podcaster. Why wouldn't they take out Candace Owens or Nick Fuentes first? His argument makes no sense. And then Logos can't respond to that. He just brings up the price. This is not him saying this is a historical thing we're about to go to on this second picture. The price couldn't be too low because Israel didn't want Hezbollah to be suspicious. Mossad also needed to hide its identity as the seller and ensure walkie-talkies couldn't be traced back to Israel, so they set up shell companies to infiltrate the supply chain. Quote, we create a pretend world. We are a global production company. We write the screenplay. We're the directors. We're the producers. We're the main actors, Michael said, and the world is our stage. And what is this relating to? The Lavon Affair was a failed Israeli covert operation, codenamed Operation Susanna, great, conducted in Egypt in the summer of 1954. And remember, this was way back in 1954. Governments, CIA, Mossad, etc., they don't do this anymore. As they have told us, they never do anything like this anymore. This never happens. This is back in the 50s.
Better believe them, because they're going to tell the truth.
As part of a false flag operation, a group of Egyptian Jews were recruited by Israeli military intelligence to plant bombs inside Egyptian, American, and British-owned civilian targets, cinemas, libraries, and American educational centers. The bombs were timed to detonate several hours after closing time. The attacks were to be blamed on the Muslim Brotherhood, Egyptian communists, unspecified malcontents, or local nationalists, with the aim of creating a climate of sufficient violence and instability to induce the British government to retain its occupying troops in Egypt's Suez Canal. So, the operation caused no casualties among the population, but resulted in the deaths of 4 operatives. The overseer of the operation allegedly informed the Egyptians, after which 11 suspected operatives were arrested. 2 died by suicide after being captured, 2 were executed by the Egyptian authorities, 2 of them were acquitted at trial, and the remaining 5 received prison terms ranging from 7 years to life in prison. So, like, reading about that, a thing that definitely happened historically, and then you look at Charlie Kirk and you're like, well, yeah, I guess he's no more significant than they were. The plan there was just to bomb random shit to hope that people would get pissed off enough and get in the streets that then England could go, oh my God, Egypt is so fucked up right now. We got to roll in the troops. Like, that's kind of what have I said Days of Lead here yet on the show? In Italy in the 60s, the goal is to get extremists on both sides doing enough wacky shit that everyone in the center, the vast majority of like the country, like apolitical, just people who just are here living, to go, wow, politics is psychotic. I don't like any of this. I'm just gonna sit at home and not question government. Please bring me more regulations. I feel unsafe. Like, crack down, hurry.
And that's what makes me think that it might have something more to do with what's going on domestically, with maybe Israel, in the stirred into the mix, because it's not I don't think a coincidence that we have these the military in cities at this point, and they're he's
they're already there. They're ready to start cracking down any second.
In Memphis being like, because this to me looks like if we're being pushed into the conspiratorial realm, whether you like it or not. We try to avoid it here as much as we can, but when you have to speculate, that's where you go. And whether it seems outrageous or believable, we still have to speculate. So where I see this whole thing going, I do see Israel as being a viable option. If somebody was like, we figured it out, it's true 100%, I would believe it. But the thing of also, it is domestically, Trump is trying to militarize the country. He's sending people into Memphis. Memphis historically is I guess technically now is like the most densely black populated city in America.
Memphis.
And I think plus also we're still trying to cover up the Epstein stuff. It's not working.
This all happened on the day where they were doing a vote about the Epstein shit. It's like, wow.
So like the bigger question is like, most of the time, in most cases in America, Black people are the most tied to the labor movement in Black communities and stuff because they benefit from it, and it's a lot of the time taken away from them in immigrant communities as well,
One of
who
the
are seeing
best
being targeted.
examples one of the best examples of that kind of organization is the Black Panthers. Like, look at all the shit they had to do to get rid of the Black Panthers. That's like basically why we have
They
crack.
literally bombed a city block, like
Yeah.
just out in the open, like in their own, like yeah, domestically. That happened.
If you
You
show
know,
your
so that,
head as a freaking commie adjacent anything, you are going to get smacked down. That's how you know who was like kind of real. That's why I have such respect for the Panthers. Like, what are you gonna say? They were all freaking feds and ops. The feds murdered them. Like they
yeah, out in
exploded.
the open multiple times, like, and that's what makes me think that yeah, we are talking about some version of manufactured consent, but also and Israel may have arranged for this to, like, help back scratching, because U.S. is Israel, Israel is U.S. Don't forget that. They wouldn't be there if it wasn't for the United States staking them and keeping them staked and giving them things that we don't even have here. So that is our outpost in the Middle East to try to control the Middle East. Full stop. So the
They're
question
bombing
is,
everyone right now too.
yeah, the question really is more, it's like, with all these things going on domestically, whether it is more about, you know, the attack on immigrants and then infiltrating a Black city with the military. It's about manufacturing consent in some way to say, oh, well, oh, this can just happen. What about all those other people that were there? There was a guy who was just a sniper, maybe trans also, or knew a trans person one time in his life. Oh my God. Trans agenda? That's not a fucking thing, guys. It's not a fucking thing. So
It is a thing they know will piss you off, so they say it over and over.
yeah,
Everything's trans, trans, trans. It's like 2% of the population, but you have to hear about it every single day because
yeah,
it
and
pisses
it's
people off.
nonsense. It's like saying balloons are the enemy. Like, it's such a small percentage of people. They don't have some sort of like world domination idealism. They're just trying to live. And other people also think maybe you shouldn't have such a bad life that you kill yourself when you're 17. So that's basically the trans agenda. So that has zero to do with any of this shit. That is just red herrings all over the fucking place, right-wing bullshit. So the bigger picture is in some way this is manufacturing consent, whether intentional or like fringingly, to
It
militarize
sure
cities.
looks like a get all the guns away from anybody. Like now they can just call, like they did with that fishing boat. They can just label you as a terrorist and then do
Right.
whatever the hell they want. And
Yes.
currently they're going after whoever the left is. And guess what? If you are kind of against the government and all this nonsense, you're now the left. Hooray!
Right. And that's so ridiculous because there basically is no left. If you want to talk in fundamentals, there basically is no left. The right is united way more than there is any kind of union among the left. Nobody on the left can agree with each other. Most of us hate each other. So the fact of saying that the left is anything is, again, another red herring, because this is who they blamed in the first place. All the headlines were like, radical leftist. Radical leftist, my dick. There is no such thing at this point as a radical leftist.
The vast majority of like political violence is, in America at least, is perpetuated by like what you'd call neo-Nazis. It's almost
Yes.
entirely, quote, right-wing violence.
Yeah.
And this latest trend where everyone has like shit written on their bullet casings supposedly and like on their guns, I'm like, this just seems so much faker. Like every like high profile murder comes with like a Mad Lib of who will get how many people can we possibly get all riled up and angry at once. So they'll just have
and what was I talking about just last week? The people who call these shots, the government, the establishment, they're still trying to do Roy Cohn tactics, and they don't understand why it doesn't work in the modern world. If they could have written anything on a bullet case and been like, look, we found it, it's for real. And 30, 40 years ago, people would have been like, it's real, it's in the newspaper, it's fucking real. And then that would have been the end of it, and you could have manufactured any fucking consent you wanted to. And that was just how it works. They don't understand how quickly things change, how things move, and how trends move. And apparently there was, I don't know if you heard this one, but apparently there was some sort of furry slogan on one of the bullet cases. And
the guy that they have in custody is like a confirmed furry. We found his FA page. We have pictures of them in their fursuit. That is not even a rumor.
Do you need to answer for that?
The kid, well, that's what I'm saying. Well, it's actually funny because with amongst the furries, there's been discourse recently about like everything's getting too normal now. Just like sexy people show up and buy a sexy fursuit and become popular instantly. We need to keep this from being mainstream. And it's like, well, you got your wish. we're gonna be associated with a fucking assassin now. Great.
Yeah, this is your version of do you condone
Not the first
Hamas?
time. Not the first time either. There have been multiple serial killers who are absolutely confirmed furries. I don't know about multiple. There's one, I think, another like not serial but singular murderer. Yeah, it was a thing like people met online and they showed up and killed their family.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not making fun of this, but it happened.
Anything. But it's like now they're just targeting people that they know that people don't know things about, but
I think
just
that's why they go after like you know how autism is seen as this like crazy scary thing. Like every time you hear about anything with RFK, like that's kind of what obliterates any possible good points that come out of him for the like removing the various weird chemicals in our food. I do support that. If other countries if other countries have all decided that this is a bad chemical and the US is like, oh, it's actually probably still good. Like I don't trust them. I take it out. If Canada doesn't like it, why do we have it? But then everything has to come back to like causing autism, where we're trying to make like autism this weird,
the big boogeyman,
creepy boogeyman that's like, oh, your kids are ruined because. And I think that has something to do with the fact that one of the side effects of being an autist is that you're kind of like you don't absorb bullshit as readily.
Right.
There's a lot of like various studies talk, it's not even like a moral thing about they're like better than, it's like the analytical type of thinking that is typical of people with autism. I have a tiny bit of autism, so I'm talking about this shit. Like tends to lead people to like shit like communism, because you're like, oh, let us look at society as if it was just like a machine with inputs and outputs, and get rid of all this morality nonsense, because that doesn't really mean anything. So like we're kind of inconvenient for any regime that's trying to do, like even right now, I could have very easily just jumped on the whole like, all right, I am now picking a side in this ghoul battle in these days of lead. I'm gonna be on the left side of the extremists. I'm gonna be fucking even crazier, but I don't. Like once you see a pattern enough, you start going, something about this seems weird, like with Luigi. Something about this seems strange, and then suddenly, oh, he's getting acquitted of shit, not of everything, but like some of these charges they just aren't sticking.
People just can't be fooled as easily anymore. I mean, they can, but they just there's enough people who are like, nope. To make it a problem for the people in charge.
This is my last logo thing of the day, but it goes to exactly what we're talking about here, where I think it's perfectly normal for a crime scene to be destroyed and dismantled almost instantaneously, and for the site to be paved over within a week. I bet it doesn't matter, and there'd be nothing of any real importance to be found in that grass. It's just a nice spot of for a statue now, an idol. Do you know that they're fucking paving the place that Charlie Kirk got shot? They're replacing the grass.
Great idea.
What?
Great idea. So that's normal. A normal thing to do.
They already found the shooter, right? He confessed on a note that doesn't exist, but
right. Yeah, and actually, this guy has not. To be clear, he has not confessed to anything.
He's not cooperating.
He is not cooperating. He's to be charged.
I don't think it was him.
I'll
fucking say it right now. I do not think that's the guy.
No.
Somebody shot him.
This country has a long history of doing it, and it's like political violence is on the rise. Political violence has always fucking been there. Hello, a president and his brother got their heads fucking blown off
by a guy who mysteriously, by a guy who was suddenly killed like 3 days after they caught. Like. I don't even think Lee Harvey Oswald's the guy who did it. When you look at it, you're like, oh shit.
They didn't even try with that. It was like, it was like the most basic like photo manipulation, like physical. Back in the day, you had to do it in a physical way, like you literally cut and pasted, and then you reshot it, and then and it's like, here's a guy awkwardly holding a manifesto.
Oh,
but they didn't even try. It's so blatant if you look at it, and then like 3 days later, this guy gets shot and killed by a guy with terminal cancer.
Did they ever find the lethal round? Where did it end up? Surely somewhere. Probably not in that grass. They found the shooter's DNA on a towel. Case closed, I think.
Yeah.
You know, they did find all those rounds that weren't shot, and they had memes on them. Yeah, that's good enough for me. They found the gun, too. If I was real clever, I'd do it without a gun and then let people find a gun. That's real stage magic.
We're going to be talking magic bullet there. And
that's
then
a camera, right?
About finding the gun in the woods, and then they were like, no, he's got the gun. And it's like, wait, no, he doesn't got the gun.
Because they have video of somebody going off the roof who clearly is not holding a large rifle. And then they find like, well, okay, he took it apart so he could get off the roof, and then he went in the woods and then put it back together and then put the gun somewhere in the woods for the police.
It was the same chore shit with Luigi. Like they just were like, yeah, it was in a backpack or whatever.
We found it. We took his backpack, and then look, there was a gun in it suddenly after the cops took the backpack. That's a camera, right? It was recording the whole time. I wonder if that footage exists anywhere. Cash probably has it, I bet. It's like, look, they have a camera that's pointing straight, like probably fucking right out.
Right out there, yeah.
Where he was shooting from. Like, anyway, I trust our institutions and will believe whatever they tell me.
Right, and that's what they think you will do, because most people are still in that mode. Despite what we're sitting here saying, despite what we think, despite common sense, most people are nightly news people, okay? Plain and simple. Like, there's no two ways around it. Most people are just going to believe what they are told straight up, and those are the people that they are relying on giving the consent and saying, oh, well, if the cities are as dangerous as this and some guy could just get shot in the throat with just a regular guy, we probably should do something about the guns and the people. And did you see how many fucking people were gathered around listening to this yahoo? That's not a problem. And
We're
that's
gonna get
really where we end up. Yeah, well, that's where we end up in the bigger problem. Okay, like we talked about, okay, the issue. Now the bigger problem is yeah, this is probably a movement against labor and against class war, like trying to shut that down again. But
because we were kind of coming together about some shit that mattered a little bit more than the
right.
culture war. Like,
yeah, exactly. Then more than the culture stuff. And so this defragments all of that again, or fragments that stuff again, and puts the onus back on like all the little micro problems and away from the labor movement, which people on all sides are affected by, and we're starting to come together on some points.
It's why I can't meme about like pretending to be happy that Charlie Kirk died, because regular people see that shit, and if they see me doing it, they go, wow, okay, that guy's a psychopath. Like, that man is crazy, because most people don't actually care. They probably didn't even know who Charlie Kirk was.
Right.
But if they see you out there just like freaking dancing in blood, it's like, oh, I see. The communists are the ones who love it when people are shot on TV for speaking. Like, I'm actually very pro free speech, and I think you don't solve speech by shooting people. It's more speech. You need more. If a guy has a bad idea, you got to come out and correct them. Which is funny, because that's where I started, and I did a whole circle about like, oh no, certain speech is dangerous and causes gremlins to appear, and then I've come right back to like, nah, you just kind of gotta let people talk, even if what they're saying is shitty, because why would they let you talk?
Right. Well, that's exactly where we are, because now we are back in like the whole culture war sphere of things, where just people on the right
it's about judging his soul.
Themselves.
We have to judge the soul of the man, and it's like, cool, we can fight about that forever.
Themselves to try and get other people fired for their comments or whatever, and really attacking.
They flipped it. It's the right wing gets to go around and find tweets and get people fired. Isn't everyone having a great time?
Well, they're now waging their own anti-free speech thing, when number one have been like super hardcore freedom of speech. We can say what we want. We can say we want to kill all the black people. We can say we want to kill all the immigrants, and it's totally fine. And you can't do anything about it. Watch us not Nazi march through your city. Haha, fuck you. And then the minute somebody's like, hey, this asshole got what he deserved, they track them down and dox them and try to get them fired. So do you not see a bigger problem here? Like your own, like I don't think it's a surprise to anybody, but it's like your own neighbors, your own compatriots, your own world here is trying to come at you, like now at this point. So the culture war aspect of it did succeed, because they got just these regular people mobilized into attacking other regular people. We're both fucking disenfranchised, goddammit. There's no jobs, there's no money, there's food costs $1 million fucking dollars. We don't have roads, we don't have healthcare. All those problems still fucking exist and are part of the labor movement, and just moving that completely out of the mind of people and getting them to circle around on this stupid idiot bullshit.
If you look at who does it benefit that we stay in our fractured little pig pens of our red and blue
precisely. That is exactly what we are talking about. And now they are, they're acting like this guy was some sort of like special envoy to the president, and they were best buddies, and all this shit. And it's like,
Charlie Kirk, the
none
guy
of
who
this
the
crap even
president
mattered to anybody before he got shot. None of it mattered.
That's where the president released an AI video of himself doing like, oh no, I'm very sad about Charlie Kirk. Holy shit. Yeah. I did not think we would have our first AI president before we had our first woman president, but we did it.
But also that is part of something we were, going to get into here is something's going on with him for sure.
He's probably dying,
and it might have something to do with a bigger stress issue, because it was you this time and not me, I think. Okay, let's see. We'll let you kind of reset here. Are we?
I wonder. Now, see, do I talk more or do I go quiet?
Are you there? Okay.
Oh
okay.
no, is it Nicolette?
Let's
see.
Kind of. Oh, okay. Well, in any case,
Launch
what we're really
leave me behind.
Yeah. Well, what we're looking at is like there was some question about his health, obviously, but we were talking about or hearing about he was limping and his face was drooping at the 9/11 memorial or whatever. But we're not going to even bother to show pictures because like they manipulated to the point where it's like got his whole face smushed down. And it's like you can't take that seriously. But so there's been some question, did he have a small stroke or did he, is it Bell's palsy? Well, if it's a Bell's palsy situation, that comes from like a nerve thing, but it can also be triggered by extreme stress, which I can't really imagine a more stressful job than president, even if you're an idiot. But, and yeah, see, these, it's like you can't really tell for sure if these have been manipulated or not. But, because I've seen some that have been like way worse, and it's like, maybe a little bit. But that you can see if this is correct, you can see that there's something going on.
Right.
So Max Blumenthal, who is of the gray zone.
R.I.P. Matt Taibbi. Matt Taibbi has committed seppuku on the political stage. He is now a Zionist. Max Blumenthal is the only one remaining standing. Sorry, continue. Fuck you, Matt Taibbi, you scoundrel.
Yeah, well, I really don't keep up with these people too much. I just know that like there has been, like when somebody comes out and says something like pretty big, then I can't keep track of it. But I don't really know podcasters or like one person from the next. But I did see this clip of Max Blumenthal talking on Tim Dillon's show about that Trump is terrified of being assassinated by Israel. He thinks
was that what this was? It's like a message to Trump, like, look, you saw what we did to Charlie.
Well, yeah, that's kind of, I don't know, that might be part of it, and that's what I'm saying. There may be a bigger ecosystem of things going on here, because it's like, let's say like he got Bell's palsy or whatever, and it came from a stress related whatever. Like let's just go down that road a little bit. Then Max Blumenthal comes out with this story and says like, okay, they actually think that, and the reason he says this is because apparently the Secret Service found like what he described as electronic devices, which I don't know exactly what that means, but in their cars and Trump's like vehicle that were placed there by the IDF apparently. So that was his story, and so that's what like take from it what you will. I find it to be probably credible. I don't really have any reason to doubt that, but we might be seeing a bigger picture. And that goes back to what we've been talking about over the past few weeks is, will he finish his term or won't he finish his term? I have said, I think maybe he's going to jump ship, but then I think Jared's probably more correct because he said, nah, they'll just keep him.
Puppet. That's why we have Biden too now. We have another old guy who is so basically catatonic.
Yeah, and then they're releasing AI videos of him. Like,
I didn't think that would hit me in a way, but at first I'm like, oh, this can't just be AI. They wouldn't just do that. And then you see his hands phasing through itself. I'm like, oh no. Actually, I was listening. I actually had on headphones. I'm like, let me actually listen to this audio. People are saying this is AI, and from the first word, you're like, that is absolutely. That's like a YouTube advertisement.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, this this should be sounding the alarm. Honestly,
if
I don't know.
You're mad at Biden
exactly
for signing with an auto pen. You should be very mad at Trump doing full fake videos.
Right. That's kind of a big problem here. So it's like we're looking at like, is he having a health problem that they're covering up? And this was after the week of disappearance where everybody was like quietly rejoicing, hoping he would, die. And it was really fun to watch, honestly, because it's just like, like people are just like having a good time, and you never have a good time on the internet. So it's just fun to to sit and just take it in. But he didn't die, and he showed up, but he showed up a little droopier, a little weirder. So then obviously people have questions, right? And you would think that they would we have obviously they have the access to the best people in the world to do this kind of stuff. They could have easily from the back taped up his face in such of a way that maybe it looked weird, but it wouldn't look like it was dropped halfway, which is very obvious to people who have had strokes or have Bell's palsy or something like that. And Bell's palsy is not deadly or anything. It's just like your nerves are just I don't want to, and then they stop. So that kind of happens, and there's really nothing you can do about it. You can kind of shock the nerve a little bit, but it'll go away or it doesn't go away. But that being said, something's going on with him. Then we see the release of an AI video, and then there's an assassination of one of his own, technically, at the same time. So it's what this leaves us in a place of what literally asking what is going on. Is Israel behind all of this? Is Israel terrorizing Trump? Because everybody went fucking apeshit when they saw Trump pull out Netanyahu's seat for him to sit down. And I was like, is this the thing the hill you guys are really going to die on? Somebody pulls out a seat for their guest. Like I'm not here to say that it's a good thing. I'm just saying, like, this is it. Like, this is what you think is so demoting or whatever. But then we've seen Trump presumably since then. And he seems pretty normal. I mean, as far for him as it is, he's like, everybody go to jail. You all go to jail. You go to jail, and you go to jail. We'll blow up boats. And so he seems pretty normal. He said something at a speech recently about like smart people don't like him, and everybody was like, yeah, bud, yeah. And it's like he's talking to you morons. So it's kind of hard to sit and say what's wrong or what's not wrong. But I do feel like, again, if I was presented with enough information, like, I wouldn't really have to doubt that Israel is making overture threats. Like, maybe not like, we're going to fucking kill you, but maybe they're like, you better do this thing, for us. But at the same time, Israel is America's creation. And at any point, we could pull the plug and we could shut them down and just invade and take over, take all of their military shit. They couldn't do anything about it, honestly. They couldn't, but instead, we're pushing up on Venezuela to try to take their shit and be this big distraction. So it's like, it's very confusing what's really going on now. The world opinion of Israel is overwhelmingly negative. They have lost the culture war, and they're not going to be able to win anybody back, and they're not interested in doing so. They just
I kind of wonder where
the
group I was talking, like the group that Kirk spoke to the most, basically the young Republicans. Like, I wonder where they go, because it's like, if they were actually following Charlie with this turning of like, actually maybe Israel, like if you're looking at basically if you're looking at the world as like material reality, if you're actually looking at the world as it exists, like, what do? Are they really gonna go just be like, you know what, I will be a John McCain neoconservative and I'm just gonna join the Republican Party and put up with all this fucking, I was about to say Chuck Schumer because I think of them as the same freaking group, but you know what I mean. It's like, are they gonna do that?
I mean,
are they gonna go to your Nick Fuentes's, who is crazily pro-Israel? Nick Fuentes seems like he's about to just jump. I only bring up Fuentes so much because I think he is, if you look at your, I don't know, Gen Alpha, Gen Z, etc., if you're looking at who's your like Pied Piper, your thought leader who's going to move people towards straight up Nazism, like it's him, which is funny because Nick Fuentes, his name is Fuentes, he is a Mexican, and the fact that he is like the leading white supremacist in the country, it's just typical. That's America, baby. That's the melting pot. Anybody can come from anywhere. You can be the head Nazi and a Latino at the exact same time. But some might fall into him, but again, he's very, very pro-Israel. So if you have in your head that, hey, Israel is, maybe we should be suspicious of this, you're not going to end up there. I kind of hope some of them show up. Hello, commies, we're here. We observe material reality as itself. Like, we're not going to try to get you to believe a bunch of weird shit. We're going to look at more math than like, do you follow this perfect ideology? Yeah. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, we're math and history nerds, honestly. Like, that's what you get from the left for the most part. Is if you just want to hear some weird history stories and look at the numbers.
Well, I'm certain none of them are going to go to any group that's painting fucking memes of Charlie's head getting blown off. Like, you're alienating people before you have a chance to even talk to them.
Yeah, their own people. I think that honestly, like the way that our internet brains go, that this is really not going to last very much longer.
Because every football game had fucking Charlie Kirk in memory of it. I'm like, oh.
No, you know what? Like, I just heard this. So I don't do football, but I did hear that like there was like 4 teams that didn't do it, and all 4 of those teams won their
important
games.
Point somebody brought up was who paid for that? Because the teams didn't just. I'm certain they didn't just do that shit on their own. It's like when the military has stuff at the games, and you kind of assume, oh, this is like a thing the team. No. They're paid millions of dollars to get the same you would pay if you were fucking Doritos and wanted to have a thing up there. Someone was paid an ad rate for that. Right. Who's doing that? Who is making sure that we absolutely talk about this, like, no matter what? Remember when the voice actor for John Redcorn was like brutally murdered in his house, and it was like a hate crime and all this crazy shit, and nobody talked about it. Nobody cared at all. Someone could have taken all their money and gone to every NFL team, be like, hey, put up a in memory of. I hate that I only know him as John Redcorn's voice actor, but my memory is bad for names of people in my life, let alone celebrities that I don't know. But you could have had this same like the media blitz around this is what's. It adds to the suspicion. Why are we being told to care about this so much? They bombed Qatar and killed they killed like 26 Yemeni journalists, I think it was, like yesterday. Ain't nobody give a Like, is that part of the point? Is this to make sure we're not looking at
No.
that?
Right, and this is the best distraction anyone could have. I think at all points on this, Israel was happy to be and is designated to be, the bad, the villain, the heel of the situation. Here's who we blame. Let's put all of our media focus on this negative bullshit of what's going on and all the bad shit that's going on, and is it connected? Is it not connected? Do your conspiracy wall, blah blah blah. Where people are like, there is no coverage and no thought about what's going on just with like regular other people in their lives and how things are, who don't subscribe to any of this ideology and don't agree with any of it. I'm not saying that people are abundantly informed. They're not. But they do, when confronted with information, are often like, that sounds pretty bad. That is really, most people tend to be pretty reasonable about that, but that shit doesn't make the news, right? And when you start to see things get really, really bad in the world, that's when you see a lot of people gravitate towards service and helping each other, and because that's a greater need. And then they have to put, a stop to that to make sure that, no, you need to be wrapped up in all this stupid bullshit that has nothing to do with you. And you need to pick a side, and you need to say that you need to condemn shit that you don't know anything about. And, so the media war is always going to be against people just trying to live their lives, and places like North Korea get criticized for having state media.
Oh, absolutely.
What do you think ours is? It's always doing the absolute dirty work of the government. Even your local news is doing. How many Charlie Kirk stories have been on the local
thanks
news
to the Doge
anywhere
cuts
in this country?
As soon as we found out which news programs were going off the fucking air because suddenly our like propaganda money dried up, it's like, oh, okay, so me over here saying all of our media is essentially state media because if you're not state media, you don't get to exist because nobody watches fucking cable. And I was just right. The commies, correct. Again, it's the horrible burden of always being correct. I want to do, here's a thing that the media kind of, it's a CNN article, so somebody talked about it. But this happened, what was this, the day before? I was talking about this Epstein vote that happened on, because wasn't Kirk killed on 9/11? Like, wasn't that, it was on the 11th, right? The 10th. Okay,
no, day
so there you
before.
Go. This was updated on the 10th. Republicans block Schumer's push to force Epstein file vote after Democrats' brazen breach of Senate protocol. I chose this one. I could have done a bunch of different articles on this, but because they're talking about how they're doing a brazen breach of Senate protocol, and I want us to think of all the things that they refused to breach protocol for.
Yeah, we're all so
like,
shocked.
They won't do it to get you a minimum wage or health care or fucking anything else, but they will do it for a symbolic they know it's going to fail Epstein smokescreen, I guess. Senate Republicans on Wednesday blocked Chuck Schumer's attempt to compel the release of the Jeffrey Epstein case files. And we also have, was it Brian Massey, the only rep in Congress who tends to do things that how can you argue? He has a petition going around the House of Representatives. Schumer's in the Senate. So like the Massey thing, I think, failed and was voted down. And then I guess Schumer's doing shit. Yeah, Thomas.
Oh,
Massey,
yeah, Thomas Massey, you're meaning. Okay, yeah. I was thinking of, you meant Brian Massey.
When people type masked, I think they were, I always assume they're going to type Massey, and then I'm like, wait a second, Massey wouldn't do that. Oh, okay. It's masked, different guy. What is it? Hours after the Democratic leader made a bold procedural move to force a vote on the issue. Again, won't force a vote on anything else. The Senate voted 51-49 to block the measure, with GOP Senators Josh Hawley and Rand Paul joining with the Democrats in support of it. Hey, look at that, Rand Paul. He gets to do cool stuff half the time. And the other time he has to rant about whatever culture war nonsense. Earlier in that day, Schumer put the contentious issue front and center in the chamber, moving on the Senate floor in order to trigger the vote. Traditionally, only the majority party takes the procedural step of filing cloture to set up that's when you check to see if everybody's there, filing cloture to set up a floor vote on a measure. In filing cloture himself and tying it to a must-pass annual defense policy package as an amendment, Schumer has guaranteed a full Senate vote. Again, wouldn't do this shit. Where's the parliamentarian? A Republican source warned that this move will be seen as a hostile act which jeopardize bipartisan negotiations. Yeah, I don't really care. The bottom line is the American people need to see this, says Schumer. Anyway, we just exited the Biden administration where we had full control of absolutely everything, and at no point did we move to publish jack shit. But now that we have no possibility of doing it, we're really concerned about this. Kind of like how Bernie Sanders started talking about how we should all have health care the second Trump won the election. Didn't say fucking anything about that for 4 years under the Democrats, but as soon as they know nothing can possibly get done, here we are. I know you all know that I think electoral politics is not just like fake, it's like parasitic. It's in fact a negative on our democracy.
Completely. I mean, and it's obvious, like, yeah, it's magic how you always come out and you're such a tough guy when, like, you can't do
they
anything.
Only want to talk. They only want to campaign when they know it's impossible to win, which is
because they're trying to get money out of you. That's literally like, hey, we listen to what we did. We're tough. Give me $5.
Everything the same. The goal is to not move anything, and that's why we get these kind of like it's like a slight jittering. But the course is we're still getting the foreign policy stays the same. The wars are happening.
They have to seem relevant. They want to make sure that they make you think that they're hearing your concerns in your tweets. Like they have people that feels all this shit. Like that's literally what they do. We've talked about it before. They have analytics and they pay millions of dollars to analytic firms to analyze the scope of things. What's happening here, how are people feeling, who's most likely to give you that $5, who can you hammer the most, blah 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 blah. They know this, going well into the future. So they are not just out there like powerless like you or me, right? Like they have the power. They are just utilizing it to leverage it against the people of, and make sure that they stay where they are. They get what they get, that they can continue to rake in money from, the industries, the major corporations and the tech industries and pharmaceutical, blah, 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 in Israel. It's just basically a big money laundering thing. Our money is Israel's money. It's just going in a circle. So that's what we're really basically talking about. And right now I just looked over and trending on Twitter is United States of Israel. People have fucking had it with Israel, and not just in America, but globally. It's everywhere. And now, one of the things part of this is that, they're starting to make amendments to the big, beautiful bill to just basically add in whatever they want to at this point, because who even fucking cares now? It's passed and they can do what they want. So Lauren Boebert put forward an amendment that I'm pretty sure is passed, and, now it's part of it, that if you think about boycotting Israel and doing any BDS stuff, we're gonna get you. That's not loud. We're not gonna do that anymore. So it's like, how would you even know? It's like, okay, I buy the disgusting Israeli hummus, or I buy some from Canada. Like, how are you gonna fucking know? Like, so they can't. It's just she obviously got a payout for saying something, or amending that or putting that in there. So that's part of all of this too. Like, the lower people are still also benefiting. That's the real trickle down, is like that from the top to the top people are going to get threatened, but the bottom people are going to get money.
You've said manufacturing consent a bunch of times. That's what it is. It's you do you can't just go say we need to remove free speech in America, or we need to remove guns from everyone in America. But they magically found a situation where we can get the right wing to be like, hey, maybe we should be taking away some guns.
Right? Yeah, like that's their dream. They got them to do the messaging that they needed.
The right wing
somebody
say, hey,
big
maybe
and
free speech is bad, actually, and you have to have the same
right. And going against their own interests. Obviously, anybody saying free speech is bad is going against their own interest. Anybody that's drawing attention away from, the labor movement is going against their own interest. Anybody that's, not advocating for, housing and healthcare and food and prices coming down is going against their own interest. So if they can get people off the class war and back spiraling around in these stupid little thought circles, and using their biggest asset, which is their people, who, whether or not they're sycophantic or they're just general, like, Republican people or whatever, conservatives or liberals or all the same, then they don't have to do the work themselves. They don't have to get out there and be the figurehead of it, because they can just let the people talk for them and do the work. It's not new. It's not, unusual. This is something that's how politics work from like the beginning of time. They've got the media in their pocket, just like they always have. There really is no, or never has been, any real independent news outside of, this kind of a sphere. And then they just suppress that, and then like get called left radicals or whatever just because you want to go to a doctor or eat a food. So that's where we really land on this. It's a culture war about all the stupidest, wrongest things, and it's antithetical to the left belief and the communistic belief of like, pay attention to the big issues and the people who are stopping you from getting.
My guys, this if you want to look into the quote years of lead in the '60s in Italy, it was a well, that's where it becomes like what part of this is conspiracies, what part of it was just completely normal, because it kind of happened again in it basically almost like freaking definitely happened again in Ukraine during the Euromaidan coup slash revolution, color revolution, whatever you want to call it. It's a period of extreme like violence, very high profile violence from both far right, like from any extremists available. And it's not that the government comes in and necessarily does it themselves, but I mean, Operation Gladio is a thing, which is where NATO and the CIA were just literally doing that. Usually, it's a thing where you just kind of wind people up, you create the conditions, and then just be like, and go. If you get it, the person who is currently accused of killing Charlie Kirk, who I really don't think is the guy even anymore, especially after looking at everything, they are who? They're a very online teen, well, relatively young, not quite a teen, who, yeah, that's the perfect, that's who the FBI and them just, you go on and you just try and you find a kind of crazy person and you give them ideas and sometimes straight up give them guns. Like when they were doing the kidnapping of frickin' Whitmer, the governor of Michigan, that shit was laughed out of court. It was laughed out of court because it was so blatant that the FBI did it for him. Like it did every step of the plot and just took this.
They were too stupid to do it themselves. They just picked these
their plan was to
get
this is in court documents. It's funny. It's like his initial plan, the guy who was like accused and then later acquitted because they got nothing. Like his plan was like, okay, we're gonna get a helicopter, and then the judges, somebody asks in court, they're like, did he at any point have access to a helicopter? And they're like, no, no, he does not have. He's just a guy, a broke motherfucker living in a trailer in Michigan. But the FBI benefits because they get to go. Oh, look, we stopped a terror plot. And if he actually went through with it and showed up with a gun, fucking shot up a bunch of shit, great. It creates freaking chaos, years of lead, and it makes the whole goal is to make your average person just become politically frozen, so they don't go towards the left or the right. They just fucking and then you start asking the government to be like, hey man, there's all this crazy violence. Why don't you please do some security crackdowns on us? Why don't you please remove some of our rights?
Yeah, and then you start asking for what's wrong, like to make things worse for yourself. You manufacture the consent to have military in your city for no reason, and to say like, oh well, if it's that dangerous, they must need it, I guess. And, that's exactly what the outcome of this is to let the people be so stupid that they do their own.
I didn't want to do a screenshot, but this is Wikipedia, which is not like a pro-commie source or whatever. But look at this: belligerents, far-right terrorists, and then you have all these different people, and then you have supported by CIA. Like just openly, this isn't hidden in any way. Italian government, supported by Gladio and the CIA. Far left terrorists, because that's the thing. I'm not even saying that like, oh, and the commies were perfect the whole time. If you're a quote communist and you're engaging in what we would call acts of adventurism, that's if you just like run up and throw a bomb at a bank or something. It's like, okay, I get the idea, but that does not do what you want. Like, in fact, usually that's days of lead shit. That's where the average regular person is going to see that and go, wow, they are psycho. I don't want to be anywhere near those people. They run up and just throw bombs at random bank tellers. Like, that's what I mean.
That's not me.
They aren't going to want to be associated with you at all. It's to make anybody who's trying to push in any direction look bad, and then so you run to, the Italian government, armed forces, state police.
Right. Yeah, and then you essentially do the dirty work and become agents of who you're trying to resist in the first place. So that's the mess that they can create and control a lot better, and we have now gotten to that point. Things were just kind of all over the place before, but now they can use this as a flashpoint to unite people into doing what's bad for them, like fighting against their own First Amendment right, or agreeing with militarism in our cities, or
it works out that the militaries are already there. So when shit goes crazy, hey, we were in town.
Yeah, exactly. See, we needed this. We told you we needed this. And then you hear all day and night if there's been like a radical Islamic extremism where they were baited or where they were made extremist online or whatever to do a thing, but you don't hear about it when it's just like white people against other white people. You know, this white on white crime got to stop. You know, like, so that's basically where we are. Well, cousins, we have reached the end of the episode. We got pretty lucky here after a rough start. So thanks for sticking with us. We appreciate you being with us, especially when we're being censored. Yeah, our feeds are getting messed up. So thanks for sticking with us, especially with such a week so full of bullshit. As always, you can reach us on our socials and send questions, comments. If there's a story you think that we should be covering, let us know. Send that DM. You can watch our archive of shows on YouTube, our YouTube channel, and on our Rebel channel. You can find us. We don't make any money doing this. We're fully independent, so we really like to get follows and hear from you and get some feedback, so we don't get stuck in our own feedback loop. We definitely are the type that want to know more about what's going on, just with your thoughts and in your type of life and how it's how these stupid things are affecting you. We rely very much on hearing what other people have to say and kind of going there when we can. Again, so we don't get stuck saying the same dumb things. So thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week for whatever insane shit is going on there. So take care, everyone. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves, and do your best just to get to another week. So bye, everybody.